Hello everyone, and welcome back to Humble Heart Horsemanship. I'm Sabrina, that's my horse Gunner, and today we're talking about Gunner's Ringbone, and we're going to take a look at x-rays that I just had done last week of his front legs. So for those of you who do not know who Gunner is over there, he is a horse that I rescued a little bit over 4 years ago. To make a long story short, he was abandoned in a horse boarding facility, a pretty rundown place that was self-care, and he was abandoned in a box stall, and he was severely underweight. He had very overgrown hooves that needed some serious farrier work. He had laminitis and of course the ring bone. And later on I got bits and pieces of his information from various people who owned him or worked with him or trained him in the past, which is very helpful. But when I decided to rescue him, I didn't have a lot of information at all. So later on I found out that he was actually a barrel racing horse that they had to retire early, at least kind of like early for what I guess they anticipated how long they wanted to keep him barrel racing. Gunner was 15 at the time. He is 20 now. He just turned 20 in April. And interesting fact is that his daddy also had ringbone. So ringbone is essentially in his family genealogy. And I don't know why you would ever know that about a horse and then choose to use that horse as a barrel racing horse if ringbone runs in the genes. So that was really setting him up for failure in terms of his physical body and stuff. So you gotta think about, especially if you know about what your horse's genealogy is and if their likelihood to develop certain diseases based off of their genes. You don't want to take a horse that has a likelihood of developing ringbone and using that horse for barrel racing. But sadly that was what happened to Gunner. So he was also severely lame at the time that I rescued him. So the instant I got him, I took him back home with me to Central Oregon, and I got him seen by a vet and a farrier, and we began rehabbing him. And I'm really happy to tell you that I was actually able to enjoy riding and working with Gunner for 2 years, and we did very light work to keep him as sound as he could be. So we did a lot of light arena riding and a lot of light trails together, and I was able to do that with him for about 2 years before he started to come up pretty lame. And I also could tell, and he really told me that he was done with being a riding horse. And I think it's really important to be very in tune and just have a very listening nature about you, because our horses are always telling us how they feel, and we really need to be in tune with them and their mind. And so at one point he told me that he was done being a riding horse and done being worked. And so I decided to retire Gunner. And that was about 2 years ago at the start of the pandemic. And so I decided to retire him, and he is a pasture, a pony if you will, and also another horse buddy to my other horse Gemini. And Gunner now just enjoys his time eating, as you can tell, and being brushed and taken on little walks and hanging out with the other horses here. So Gunner is retired. Now I never got x-rays of Gunner's front legs. Wow, that was a very loud fart. Okay. I never got x-rays of Gunner's front legs for various reasons. This year I decided that I was going to change that, and that I was going to have the vet take some x-rays of Gunner's front legs. Because number one, I really felt like and saw a change in him, and I was like, something is changing with his ring bone, and I want to know exactly what it is. Plus, of course, with x-rays it's very helpful because then you're able to see what's going on in that pastern joint, and you can move on to approaching, not treating, because you can't cure ring bone, but what's the word for it, just trying to minimize his pain with his ring bone. And so I was like, unless I have the x-rays, it's difficult to pinpoint what exactly we can do at this point. So I had the vet do 2 images of Gunner's front legs where his ring bone is on his pastern joints, this past week when she was out here to float both of my 2 horses' teeth and also give them their annual spring vaccines. And so we got those 2 images of his front legs, and I want to share with you guys what she found. The one thing I do want to mention real quickly before we talk about the results of the x-ray images is that when I first rescued Gunner 4 years ago, I noticed that his front right leg shoulder, if you will, seemed like it was more lame or more in pain than his left. And Gunner's ringbone is so progressed, you guys, that he has bony growth that you can visibly see on the outside of him. So if you look at his front legs, he has it's very visible that he has ringbone. But I noticed that his right shoulder was always a little bit worse. Now, somewhat recently, the past few months or so, I noticed that he was moving a little bit better, especially in his left leg. His left front leg. And I was like, okay, what's going on? So I had a tiny feeling that his left front leg, I didn't want to say fused because I wasn't sure, but I thought something had changed in his left front leg. I was like, maybe it's fused, I don't know, but there is a change that you can visibly see. So we did an x-ray on Gunner's left front leg first, and you know what we found, you guys? We found that his left front pastern joint has fused together. Now that is actually really good news, because what happens with ringbone is the bony growth keeps continuing to grow on the pastern joint. Sometimes it continues to calcify and grow, and the joint becomes usually very painful and the horse appears very lame. And then sometimes you can do like surgery or joint injections into that area where it will kind of speed up pastern joint fusing. But so in some horses, the pastern joint will actually fuse all by itself without any of those things. And that was what happened with Gunner's left front leg. So in the x-ray image I'm going to pop up on the screen now, you'll see with the little arrow, Gunner's pastern joint actually fused together. And that's actually good news, because it means that he has no more pain essentially in that front left leg in terms of the ring bone inflammation and pain. The joint had so much bone spurs and bone growth that over time it fused together. Now when we did an x-ray of his right leg, what we found is that that leg, like I had kind of thought, I had this, okay, here's the word I was looking for. I had a premonition. His right front leg has not fused together. That's why he appears more lame and has a little hitch in his shoulder, a little hitch in his step when he moves. So his front right leg, as you'll see in the image here with the little arrow, it has not fused together yet, but you can still see the overall bony growth. So that was really, really interesting to see. And my premonition about that was correct, which it made me feel good, because I really try to be a very conscious horse owner, where I am looking at my horses and how they move and how they feel to figure out what's going on. And the x-ray images just confirmed what I was already suspecting was the case with this ringbone. So the vet went on to say that it was good that his left leg fused, his left pastern joint fused together, because it means that there's less pain and he's not lame on that left front leg. And then on the right front leg hasn't fused together, obviously, like I just said. So multiple options, she said. You could go forward with a $6,000 surgery where they essentially scrape the bony growth off around the pastern joint and they put a metal plate. Wow, this is a lot, Gunner. Are you trying to say something here? Just farting in the camera? So the vet said that with his right pastern joint that hasn't fused, you could essentially shave off the bony growth, and they could put a steel/metal plate there during surgery, but that's a $6,000 surgery. And so of course I'm like, we're not going to do that, because he is 20, he's retired, he is sound enough like right now to be mobile and happy in his spirit, and he seems like he's doing pretty good, and she agreed with that as well. Or in some cases, not in this case, she said, but they could do joint injections in that area. She said it would be a really difficult place to do joint injections, so that is not an option. And then she also brought up using Equinox. If you don't know what Equinox is, some people call it Previcox too, but that's for dogs. It is an anti-inflammatory pain medication for horses, kind of like Advil or Tylenol. And so she brought up and said that it was a pretty good idea that she would prescribe Equinox for Gunner to help him with the pain that he's experiencing in that right front leg with his ringbone, and that there is a chance that that joint could also fuse too, but we don't know how long that would take. So just kind of keep an eye on it, and we can always do x-rays later on in the future to compare the x-rays that we just took this week to new x-rays to see what the overall progression is in his right front leg. So I was so glad, and I can't even explain to you the relief that I felt once we had those x-ray images and she was able to look at them with me and show me everything and explain. I cannot explain to you guys how happy and like relieved I felt to have these x-ray images and just to have an answer of what's going on in Gunner's legs with his ringbone, because I've been wondering and suspecting things, and now I finally have answers. It's also great because I hired a new farrier to come out at the end of this month who is going to trim both of the horses, and now that we have these x-ray images of Gunner's legs, my farrier can take a look at them and actually trim Gunner's hooves in a more corrective manner according to the x-rays showing really how his bones are in there, and we can essentially customize how he trims Gunner's hooves to make him more comfortable and more sound. But Gunner will never be fully sound, at least at this point. But Gunner will never be totally sound unless that front right leg does fuse, but we don't know how long that could take. That could take like 2 years or 10 years, and he is 20. And so Gunner is retired, and he will remain being retired. He is happy being retired, like many horses are, and he, although he's only 20, he has had so many different owners before me. I think he's had a total of 5 or 6 owners at this point, and he has been through a lot in his lifetime. And I'm so happy and feel blessed that I am in a situation right now where I can provide him with a happy retirement life and a pasture and other horses to play with and be a herd with. And so I feel very fortunate that that is the case. But for those of you who are wondering, yes, Gunner will remain retired. And even if his front right leg fused together, I probably still wouldn't even bring him back into work, maybe light work or something. But he told me that he is done with being a riding horse, and he did that for so long and put in so much work and effort. He deserves to be retired. So I am going to get that prescription from the vet this week and order some Equinox and see if that will help with all the inflammation that he is experiencing, and we're gonna see if that will also help him maybe move a little bit sounder and move a little bit more comfortably too. So I am gonna try some Equinox for him, and as he's farting as he walks, he keeps farting, it's hilarious. Oh my god. Okay, so the Equinox, and then the farrier is going to come out in a few weeks to trim his hooves and keep the toes of his hooves a little bit shorter too, which that should help him feel a little bit more comfortable and possibly a little bit sounder. So anyways, you guys, that is the big news. I'm so glad that I had those x-rays taken. I feel like I have answers and I can move on and I know what's happening, and it feels good. So, alright you guys, thank you so much for watching this video and being a part of Gunner and I's journey here. If you did enjoy it, make sure that you scroll down, hit that thumbs up button, and also subscribe to get more videos just like this one. And if you would like to leave me a comment, be sure to do that in the comment box below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!